the Queen's demise brought this kingdom, UK, to almost halt, in the sense that not much was left to be rejoiced by the church people, and there was only coronation in the waiting. And today, on behalf of the communion of Their Majesty King Charles and Queen Camilla, I invite you to this coronation ceremony that went underway yesterday with such a pomp and show, and supposed to be one of the biggest glitch, the kind of extravagances and the protocols that followed was unprecedented. It was on 6th May, like yesterday, and the venue was Westminster Abbey, London, UK, and happened to be one of the gatherings, congregations of the most influential people all around the world. Most of the head of states, those that could make it, like Biden himself couldn't make, but the first lady was there. Then we had some of the dignitaries, even from Kingdom Saudi Arabia, one of the ministers, chance happened to be there. Apart from all the government functionaries and previous prime ministers, head of states of different countries, influential people of interfaith, and this was the day-long procession. And the coronation was such an elaborate arrangement, and it was so painstakingly slow in the motion, that we needed a lot to learn and to watch to get to know how it proceeded and what are the protocols to be followed. I'm going to show you some of the snippets and the highlights of yesterday's coronation. You can see in this image, he is holding the scepter, also wearing the crown. It's rightly said that the head that wears the crown is too heavy because of responsibility entrusted in him, not only secular, but also religious as well as cultural. King Charles III and Queen Camilla officially crowned, and the chieftains and the papacy and all the church highest officials, they had to engage in all steps to be taken one by one. That included not only the handing over the sepulchre, the sword, the heavy sword, the anointment, disrobing, enthronement, not only to the king, but also the queen. That wasn't expected, in fact. So in London, King Charles III and his wife, Queen Camilla, were both formally crowned this Saturday in a historic ceremony at London's Westminster Abbey. And this is just before appearing in the balcony for a flyover. I mean, it's supposed to be part of the protocol that they will appear from the back door and the front door for public appearances, and people would wave and they would wave back. You can say the carriage that's 100 years old, older than, all made in gold, probably, I guess, 10 tons. goal, although it's quite slow and it's horse-drawn yet, but with a bit of improvement in suspension, and still it's not so cozy and comfy as the head of states or the queens and queen are supposed to ride. But there was a lot of too many eyebrows were raised against this begins because you know that England is reeling under economic crisis. The price of the essentials, including the gas, has gone skyrocketing. And in this critical juncture, when it's involved in all kinds of fiscal crisis, also some of the other crises like head of states being replaced one by one, and majority of them have been struggling to come up with a fail-safe agenda program to ameliorate the miseries of masses. This splurging of 250 million Coronation was really loads of ranting and people dismay at, because this nation was politically it's also had exit from the European Union, and it didn't have a good experience of having that exit. And maintaining its standing in new world order, supporters say the royal family provides an international draw, a wider diplomatic tool, and it means staying in the world stage. There are detractors and the supporters, and there are people who are all embarrassing, and there's people who are all crying foul against this kind of overtures and pageantry world over, with millions of people glued to TV and also having banquets. And obviously it's cost, and it's all taxpayers' money. With cost of living crisis and public skepticism, particularly among the young, about the role and relevance of monarchy. They believe that this is an age-old burden and legacy and liability of these kingly people. So it better to get rid of, because many of the monarchies in Europe have already called it a day, and there's an Austria, and they have switched over to the democratic head of the states, and there are no more. So there are 50 protests to arrest in London police for various offences such as breaching the peace, conspiracy to cause public nuisance, and all that. In fact, the protesters belong to different groups such as the Republic, which campaigned for elected head of the state, and Just Stop Oil, which opposed the new oil and gas projects. Obviously, the kings and their influential not only in decision making, but I've come to realize that they are the people behind all the big conglomerates and tycoons, business tycoons, especially the defense deals and all. And they have a larger say in determining the export, import, productions, and having to deal with the ties and political ties, social ties. And apart from the charity works they're usually engaged in, and how the protesters use various slogan symbols to express this dissent, such as "not my king," privatize them, abolish the monarchy, because it's losing its relevance. And so what happened was real, brilliant and glaring example of what tradition stood for and what modernity stands for. London, one of the costliest mega city in the world, attracting people, businessmen all over the world, and it's fast becoming a safe haven for those investors that would like to stash their money in the banks and evade taxes. And England, this government doesn't fight shy of according them a warm welcome to all those who can, because it adds to the economy gain. And London has been in the news for not just right reasons, also wrong reasons. I can see the sprawlish, centuries-old cathedral and the largish. You can see the seats, 2 seats meant for the upcoming king and the queen to be coronated. This is the paraphernalia, the chief priest, and he's flanked by and being disrobed, and then he was, in fact, clothed in altogether new attire, which resembles that of the priest, chief priest. Take a look at these two gem-studded. As an Indian, I don't have to be skeptical about that. This is the pearl stolen from India and is jutted down and studded with that. No, it's not the case. This is a diamond from South Africa with an uncut. And obviously, this crown has been changing the heads from generation to generation. In fact, in the 21st century is the first coronation of its kind. Beginning with in 1060, perhaps, of the first king. I'm not going into the details of the historical perspective. I'm simply trying to give you a glimpse of what happened the day, and because as an avid enthusiast of historical happenings worldwide, and I showed a lot of interest in fact checking. I kept in vigil on the entire processions and how, and for the first time it was televised publicly. Although it was televised in 50s also, because the first coronations, I mean, like the Queen was heralded as the Queen, and it was televised that in black and white, and that was changed to color pictures. What is remarkable, notable around this entire gathering is that Bible is being read, and the king is supposed to take allegiance and oath to the Bible and to Jesus Christ and the spirits and the God Almighty. This is an allegiance and the oath taking of how to remain loyal, how to serve to the best abilities for the welfare and the commoners, and that's what they have been doing. And they have played a pivotal, instrumental role, not only promoting peace and harmony, but also fostering brotherhood, being the head of the Commonwealth and so many nations together. So this is being laid on his head, and it fits so well to him. He's 70 years old, probably, and I hope that he's robust enough to hold this heavy mantle that has fallen, and probably he was thrust with this. He was destined to have this. We always aspire to have him. Probably after the demise of the darling, the sweet heartthrob millions, Queen Elizabeth, he is supposed to be the rightful claimant. And no wonder that it happened. People were waiting in the wings, and he was waiting in the wings. Because he had served so many years, decades into services, and he must be dreaming of aspiring to be crowned. And see the throng, the people that gather in this rain and drizzle and the hours of waiting and the kind of euphoria that you can witness. And this suggests that we could talk against this monarchy, and we could say that it's an age-old tradition and being a burden, and we have been pulling on the taxpayers' money being squandered. But given this, huge mammoth gathering of thousands and thousands of spectators, upbeat and frenzy mood, tells the story otherwise. I mean, they're willing to die to catch a glimpse of them. What are some of the modern touches in the ceremony? And that's to be noted is that religious diversity. The king invited leaders and representatives of other faiths. That means I could see Muslims bearded with cap. I could see people from the Arab world. I could see Hindus wearing robes of saffrons, Islamic, even Sikhism. I'm like so many Buddhists. Sikhs with their turbans, Buddhism with the attire, and also Judaism to play a prominent part in proceedings because the message is loud and clear. The president sounded the regalia to the king and gave the blessing. So obviously it was a good mix of people all around the globe. Even female clergy, the king also included some more female clergy in the ceremony than previous coronations, probably to make it more inclusive, removing gender biases, although churchdom and it's always been dominated by men. Although it's not close to, it's not forbidden for women to enter the Christendom, but there are a handful of them. For example, the Dean of Westminster Abbey who welcomed the king and the queen. The entrance was a woman. And public participation, king invited members of public as well to take part in a chorus of millions of voices to place their allegiance to him. This is intended to replace traditional homage in peers where, I mean, it was not open to the common masses and it was restricted. So this is what it makes it distinct and very different, and it's unprecedented not in the scale of the people. I mean, 700 contingent and the parade participation. Look at the Truffle Square, and we're like people are all around. This is like a amphitheater circle, a globe. People can be seen on the rooftop, on the trees, and also, you can see in the distance the balcony where the king and the queen appeared for their last glimpse twice, from the front and from the back. Now, this is a parade in the street, and this is a long, a mile, more than a mile of parade, and people are, this is like dispersal of them, happy, joyous, and all elated, catching the glimpse of the regalia. This is the carriage, horse-drawn carriage with gold plated, and being horse-drawn with entourages, and there is musical extravaganzas, and this is the inside chamber where the host of congregations and allegiance and oath taking and sepulchre and handing over to the bowl of, apart from the unknown men, that forms a part of the Christian faith where every religious head is allowed to read it from the scriptures, and particularly Bible pages. And is asked to touch the ring of honor, ring of homage, and you can see the replicas and placards and all the bowls, and this is the inside chamber. So, but there was something that was not so joyful, and seems like there was something ungodly also. Prince Harry couldn't, private lunch. Skipped private lunch, will not appear at the private lunch for royal family members. It's CBC News contributor Brown confirmed. He also didn't appear on the balcony, along with the other family member, the entire dynasty, which was reserved for working members of the royal. I mean, like those people who took the allegiance of bolstering the move of fostering the harmony, friendship, global peace, and all initiatives. because Prince Harry was not involved and is not assigned or mandatorily, obligated to do that job that is supposed to be undertaken by through the oath of doing their best towards the betterment of the human race. So Evening Standard columnist and broadcaster Aisha Hazarika about the future of the royal family, she suggested the king should reach out to his son. And so people are saying that why he has been left out, Prince Harry, to help move the monarchy forward in the modern era. That means it should be all inclusive. If they can't hold tight together in unison their own family members, how could they lead the world, So I'm giving you some startling facts about the wealth and the riches. And the King Charles' net worth has soared to about $2.3 billion, according to The Guardian. We say it worked with 12 experts to undertake the first comprehensive audit of the King's assets, which range from country estates to race cars and jewels. So obviously, this is the wealth amassed over the years through maybe misappropriation, and then they must have plundered it from colonizing people, or they could have inherited from, because loads of wealth were siphoned away from India, South Africa, and most of the colonies were used as a manufacturing unit and finished products. And obviously, this is the amassed culminations of all the wealth that they have gathered over the centuries. Among its most valuable assets, however, is something intangible. So there are wealth assets that cannot be seen. And what is the intangible wealth he's talking about? Exception for Charles in the UK is inheritance tax, which otherwise would have taken a 40% bite of his inherited assets. That means UK's inheritance tax is exempted for Charles. This is bizarre. When ordinary people are paying through their nose, and they bleed paying of such an exorbitant tax cuts from their meager poor income. There's 40% by inherited assets. The Queen Elizabeth II was worth $500 million when she passed away last year, largely from ownership of Balmoral Castle in Scotland and Sandringham House in England, as well as arts, jewels, investment, real estate. This is an estimated Forbes magazine's, proclamation. Now, on the way to the ceremony, when they were finished with, they had to make a parade. They rode in Diamond Jubilee State coach, which is only a few years old, and boasts modern convenience, including hydraulic suspension, air conditioning. So this carriage is air conditioned now. On the way back, however, they were riding the gold state coach, which is over 200 years old. So this is another coach, in fact. The late Queen Elizabeth II once called riding in a horrible experience. It lacks the modern luxury of the other state coach. They're used to getting to the, Cadillac, modern Cadillacs and brand new cars. And obviously this must be not as comfortable as. So congratulations to King Charles III and Queen Camilla on their corporations, coronations, the enduring friendship between the US and the UK is a source of strength. This is what the US Foreign Secretary, Foreign Affairs, they're sending a message to them. It's a source of strength in both our people. I'm proud the First Lady is representing the United States for this historic occasion. I wish Biden was there, but he was replaced by, probably the First Lady was there. So it's a royal coronation, and the theme of the resplendent yet intimate for a royal coronation ceremony. King Charles III first remarks at the beginning of the 2-hour spectacle of Westminster were, and this is what he said: "I come not to be served, but to serve." That means this is the allegiance, this kind of homage and the promise that they have to keep throughout their working, functioning, throughout their noble gestures and participations and delegations, seminars. In the literal crowning moment, Charles was seated on, believed to the oldest piece of furniture in Europe. It's still being used for its original purpose, and holding 2 golden scepters as a glittering St. Edward's crown, made for King Charles II in 1661, was placed on his head. It is the only time he will ever wear it. So this is how, now this is the balcony scene where, the king and the queen are shown along with the grandchildren of King Charles, Queen Camilla stepped out of the balcony of the Buckingham Palace Saturday with other senior members of the family to watch the military fly past and greet members of the public. They were joined by other working members of the royal family, including William and Kate, but the other son was missing. And the prince and the princess of Wales and the children. So, oh my gosh, this is what is the frenzied. This is like a mayhem. It's not a. This is like just after World Cup football. The gathering of. I haven't seen people thronging and such close quarters, and it's a narrow alley, and it's a. So, King Charles III, coronation 6th May. British government actually decided they have too many guests of honors. I'm going to include some of those. British government decided guests according to a state event funded by the government. Up to 2,200 guests had been invited to coronation from 203 countries. That means very few countries are spared. They included members of the royal family, representatives of the Church of England, other British faith communities, prominent politicians of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth, foreign heads of states and royalty. The number of British police attendees were reduced significantly from 953 when a virtually entire parliament in the United Kingdom attended. Now, this time, all the parliament is not there, but I could say Bill Clinton, sorry, not Bill Clinton, the Tony Blair, then Lisa Strauss, then the previous one. Three of the prime ministers were there. Invitations extended to 850 community and charity representatives, including 450 British Empire Medal recipients. So they are the veterans and 400 young people, half of whom were nominated by the British government. And obviously, safety regulations started right from the Westminster's Abbey, restricted the number of guests in contrast to earlier coronations, and no temporary stands were erected in the building. So it was more protective, and it was full of security breach concerns because there were certain protesters that were held back and they're not allowed to enter even the proximity of that finest regalia that we witnessed. So this is what happened yesterday, and the whole world witnessed. Actually, I was watching my prime minister, having his own regalia and glitz in Karnataka, addressing, 36 kilometer of pageantry in his election rally. And I could find and perceive a striking similarity between what happened in England and what's happening in our democratic country, where the head of state is busy showing off and splurging people's hard-earned money in taxes, and he doesn't mind, indulging in such sort of extravagances now and then, so frequently. Anyway, he is yet to be crowned as because we don't have any monarchy left, and thank God we are no more the colonies of the yesteryears, and we could have our own traditions alive, but we don't indulge in such crowning, coronations, and so there are pros and cons. There could be skepticals, there could be people who could embrace these extravagances, and they say, okay, we need to keep traditions alive. We need to get a glimpse of the past. We need to have a look on how we survived for thousands of years, and then we look forward. And Amelia's preparations are like it's a future in the making, and that's how we make our policies towards, and we show the world how great, culturally uplifted and elevated, and how such a advanced, glorious culture that England stood for. Although it's reduced to a small nation now, unfortunately, it has its own loads and shares of the miseries and the teething issues and financial, cultural, political, and especially in the wake of the lack of the robust policymakers and parliamentarians, are always the loggers and they're fighting their own tooth and nail to oppose the government. Anyway, as an Indian, and we share a lot in common, and we wish King Charles III and Pamela the innings, as because they're in the passing and graying years of their life, and they still have to contribute a lot in whatever forms they can. So congratulations to all of them, and I really enjoyed sharing these, some of the glimpses and snippets from what I witnessed. And